They also traveled by boat around Egypt and into the Mediterranean Sea to trade with other cultures. The land in Egypt is about 90% desert. They were barriers of protection, shielding the people against invasions by surrounding civilizations. The highest lands are in the south, and the land slopes gently toward the Mediterranean Sea. There are some mountains located on the southern Sinai Peninsula. There is almost no rainfall on a regular basis. The people depend on the annual summer floods of the Nile River for water. The ancient Egyptians thought of Egypt as being divided into two types of land, the Black Land and the Red Land. The Black Land was the fertile land on the banks of the Nile. The ancient Egyptians used these lands for growing their crops. This was the only land in ancient Egypt that could be farmed because a layer of rich black silt was deposited there every year after the Nile flooded. The Red Land was the barren desert that protected Egypt on two sides. This desert separated ancient Egypt from neighboring countries and invading armies. They also provided the ancient Egyptians with a source of precious metals and semi-precious stones.
Egypt is located in the extreme northeast of Africa, crossing from south to north through the Nile River, that flows into the Mediterranean Sea. The desert covers more than 90% of Egypt. The Egyptians live on the shores of the Nile River or next to the channels.
In our map, each block represents 50 kilometers.
Pyramids today stand as a reminder of ancient Egyptian glorification of life after death. And in fact, the pyramids were built as monuments to house the tombs of the pharaohs.
The ancient Egyptian people were grouped in a hierarchical system with the pharaoh at the top and farmers and slaves at the bottom. The pharaoh was believed to be a god on earth and has the most power. At the bottom were the farmers and the slaves. Farmers worked the land of the pharaoh and nobles. Slaves were usually prisoners captured in war.
The papyrus plants were and are very common in Egypt. Papyrus is a kind of reed which grows in marshy areas along the banks of the Nile River. Egypt was famous for producing huge amounts of wheat especially. Under Roman rule, a lot of the wheat was sent to Rome and then later to Constantinople. Some of the wheat was made into beer. Egypt is the only Mediterranean country where people drank beer instead of wine. They believed animals were symbols. The crocodile. The Egyptians both respected and feared the power of the crocodile as they were a real danger to them. The Nile, which was full of crocodiles, was important to the livelihood of the Egyptians. It therefore made good sense to have a god which could appease these ferocious beasts. Crocodiles were represented by the god called Sobek, possessing the strength and nature of the crocodile, which Egyptians would both fear and respect. He was a symbol of the pharaoh's power.